Today we are celebrating the release of the final book in the Marketing for Authors series, Plan a Profitable Book Launch. And to celebrate, I wanted to show you guys the marketing timeline I used for my most recent novel, Meet Me at the Summit. So today we're going to be going into the grant chart that I used to do all the planning. In a previous video, I talked about how I created the book, like the publishing timeline for the book. I brought you through month by month the writing and editing process, but I did not take you guys through the marketing process. So that's what today's video is all about. I'm going to go month by month through the marketing process, and you're going to see how I kind of tracked it in the grant chart. Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner, and today we are going to go month by month through the marketing tactics that I use to publish Meet Me at the Summit. Now, a lot of what I'm talking about today is actually from Chapter 4 in this book. Chapter 4 goes into detail of the different types of marketing timelines you can create for yourself. In my previous video where I talked about my publishing timeline, I showed you guys the pages in the Book Launch Planner that I use to track my writing and editing process. And today I'm going to show you the campaign calendar that I create in Microsoft Excel and how I use a grant chart sort of system to track everything. So I'm taking you guys along for the ride. This right here is the campaign calendar that I created for Meet Me at the Summit. I create one of these campaign calendars for every single book that I publish now. It's one of my favorite ways to track tasks. While I use the Book Launch Planner for more tracking the editing and writing process and a bunch of other stuff, I do a lot of the main marketing tracking in this campaign calendar because I can also see where things overlap. Now again, I go into detail of how I use this grant chart in Plan a Profitable Book Launch, so you can also learn about it in that book as well as all the other different methods that I use to create a publishing timeline. But this is again one of my favorites, and sometimes it's easier to see it than to read about it. So I break it up into a few different sections. We have this section here, which is creating the book. We have this section here, which is marketing the book, and this section here, which is post-release. And then this is a duology, so this is kind of my plans, or I don't know, this is actually not completely accurate because I'm already behind. This was my plans for writing and editing book 2 in the duology, but we're not doing that anymore. I will say a lot of what you see for this grant chart right here is maybe not completely accurate because a lot of the times I would change dates and due dates last minute, so it may not be completely accurate. So today we're going to be skipping over this create section because I already walked you guys through month by month how I created Meet Me at the Summit from the writing and editing process. So if you want to see that video, again, it will be linked down below because I more walked you guys through it through the Book Launch Planner because the Book Launch Planner was more visual representation of how I wrote and edited the book. Today we're going to be focusing on this marketing section here. So the marketing didn't start until April. Now, as you'll learn in Plan a Profitable Book Launch, there's something called soft marketing and hard marketing. Now, to me, soft marketing for Meet Me at the Summit is when I was talking about writing the book. So really, this chart only tracks hard marketing because I started soft marketing my book from the moment I told you guys I was writing about it. So last year during Preptober in NaNoWriMo, when I told you guys I was writing a book, that was soft marketing. I'm not saying buy the book, but by talking about it, you guys know there's a book coming and that it's something you may be able to read and purchase down the line. But hard marketing didn't start until April. So in April, I started to do a cover reveal sign up so you guys could sign up for the cover reveal so you could help with the reveal process. And then once I let you guys know that there was going to be a cover reveal, I started revealing the title. I revealed the title for Meet Me at the Summit at the end of April because up until that moment I had been referring to it as Project Road Trip, and I don't know if I've officially announced this yet, but the working title for the next book in the series is Project Road Trip 2. That's it. Nothing fancy, because I kind of got attached to the working title Project Road Trip. But yeah, so I didn't release the title until April, and that's a huge marketing thing because, you know, the title can be exciting. And it's okay if you've already revealed the title for your book. Not a big deal. But if you're like me and you like to keep it close until, you know, you're ready to start doing that hard marketing, you can make a big deal out of revealing the official title of the book. And then at the end of May, we have the cover reveal. Now, I broke it down to 2 different tasks. I will say some things about this chart may not make sense to you, but I promise you it makes sense to me. That's all that really matters, is the person that uses and creates the chart, that it makes sense to you. So we have 2 different tasks. So we have submit the book for pre-order, and then when the pre-order goes live. Now, what I forgot to explain earlier is that normally these boxes that you see will have a number. Like this one here has the number 14th. That means June 14th because it's in the June column and it's 14. And we also have it broken down to 4 different columns because each column represents a week of the month. So we have week 1 of May, week 2 of May, week 3 of May, and week 4 of May. And the way I do it is that I color in the boxes for whenever something is due. So for example, the pre-orders were going live the last week of May. But what I would like to do was, as the date was coming up closer, I would give a more solid due date. So let's say it was like the 28th. So I would just type that in there. So normally at the beginning of the planning process, there's a bunch of these numbers in these boxes as well. But as I complete a task, I delete the number because that signals to me that I'm done, that task has been completed. So that's why all these boxes are blank right now. I kind of wish that I had an old version that had the numbers in it. Sometimes I do this when I have to change my timeline a lot. I have the old version of my timeline and now the new version of my timeline. So as you can see, the old version still has a lot of the due dates due, but when I realized I needed to completely overhaul my timeline, I just created a new sheet and I modified it. That way I could always reference the old timeline if I needed to. At the end of May is when I revealed the cover for Meet Me at the Summit. At the same time, I also revealed the official blurb for the book. And that's also when I started my pre-order campaign. And then as you can see, I also have this separate task of submit the book for pre-order because you have to submit the book for pre-order a couple days before the pre-order goes live. So I had it as a separate task just to remind myself when I need to do that. So then we jump into May. This is where things get a little more chaotic. So for the entire month of June, I kind of blocked it off that I wanted to do this pre-order campaign. And really you can see the row for pre-order campaign goes from June to the end of August because that's how long I wanted to promote that pre-order campaign. Also in June was, this is the funny one, announce street team. So I had all these plans to do a street team. In fact, I even have this little tab down here for post ideas for doing a street team, and I never did a street team. I never ended up doing any posts like this. I was just too overwhelmed with a lot of other things that were going on, and I ended up getting rid of it. So I actually didn't realize I never deleted this from the campaign calendar, but that just goes to show sometimes as you're working through the publishing process, you have to cross things off your list and completely abandon marketing ideas, which is fine. And then we have down here is advanced reader copies. So I planned to do advanced reader copies in June, and I did technically do advanced reader copies. So last week I put out a video where I let you guys know that my book was on NetGalley. It was a whole thing. As you can see, I also have right here, on June 21st was when I was on NetGalley's featured title spotlight. So that was the exact date that my book was being featured on NetGalley. And then I had to submit my book to NetGalley by June 14th. So that's why that due date is there, just so I could have it for myself. And because of that, I planned on doing arcs from June 14th to, when the book was released. But I also did a separate set of arcs publicly with you guys. So I had my arcs that were on NetGalley, that I didn't tell you guys about because literally anyone would be able to download the book for free. And then I also had the book on Story Origin to distribute the arcs there, where you guys would have to like fill out an application and I could approve or disapprove people. So I had 2 different types of arcs happening at the same time. So sometimes this part of the timeline is a little fuzzy because I had 2 types of arcs, but you get the idea. Now it looks like there's a lot happening in June, but there really isn't because we just have the pre-order campaign still going on here. All this is like street team stuff that never ended up actually happening. But then in mid-July is when I sent out my advanced reader copies. So mid-June is when I was kind of forced to send out the NetGalley advanced reader copies, but then mid-July is when I sent out my advanced reader copies through Story Origin, which if you want to know how that works, there will be a video linked down below where I talk about how I create my advanced reader copies and how you can sign up to be an advanced reader through Story Origin. All that is in a separate video. So yeah, there was a month difference from when I did my NetGalley arcs to the arcs that I sent out, like myself. And as you guys know, there was like some typo fiascos and copy editing fiascos, but that's a different topic. This is now just becoming embarrassing because here's another marketing tactic I had, which I called Teaser Tuesday. So starting in mid-July, I was going to do something I called Teaser Tuesday, where every Tuesday I would share a quote from the book. July was a very stressful month, and I never ended up doing that. So, yeah. So that brings us to August. So August, again, pre-order campaign. We were going strong. And in fact, I am so proud of my pre-order campaign. I got a ton of pre-orders. I think it was over 150 pre-orders. I have a whole separate video on that. And you can kind of see my tactics on how I was able to get so many pre-orders. It was mainly due to this pre-order campaign, so again, that video will also be linked. This row right here is to remind me to do review features, where once a week I would feature some sort of review on social media from advanced readers. And I actually did do that. It was simple. Sometimes it was a post, sometimes it was just something I made in my Instagram stories. But it was usually just something super simple where I'd post a photo of the book and then the caption of that photo on Instagram was quotes from a review. So it was a super simple and easy way to promote the book leading up to release. As you can see, I put release day in bright red, so I can't miss it. And then it released on August 31st, so that's why that number's there. And on the same day, the book trailer was released, and that was my big way of celebrating here on YouTube. And down here, this is my post-release strategy, which truthfully, I've not been the best with. So you can see this little like checkerboard pattern, because in the following months after the book has been released, the plan was to every other week kind of change up how I was promoting the book on social media. So one week I would feature a review, the next week I would feature a quote from the book, the next week a review, then quote from the book, review, quote from the book. You get the idea. So just these stupid, simple little things that you can remind people constantly that you have a book that's out and that it's really good and that you should read it. And then I was just brainstorming down here. Like, I had this idea to do a digital book signing, so I have this task of like announce the digital book signing and then the date of the actual digital book signing. Originally it was planned that I would announce it at the beginning of October and then the digital book signing would take place at the end of October. But as you can see, all of this is blank. I've been very stressed out lately. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but if you guys are interested in a digital book signing, please let me know. I would be happy to do one. I just want to see if there's interest before I pour all that time into it. This cracks me up because, as you can see, I like to make this all one sheet, even though down here is the info for book 2. Originally, I had this grand scheme of starting to draft book 2 at the end of May and be done that draft by the end of June. That way, by the time, right now it's October, in October I'd actually be doing developmental edits and working with beta readers, which obviously is not happening right now. I haven't even written the first draft yet. But it's funny because a part of the digital book signing was during the digital book signing I would be announcing the title for book 2 in the series. That's not happening for very obvious reasons, but as you can see, I had some great plans that I haven't updated yet. And you can even see I had plans to do the cover reveal sign up, the plans to do the pre-orders for book 2, announcing a hardcover edition of Meet Me at the Summit, because yes, there will be a hardcover edition of Meet Me at the Summit. I just don't know when. I mean, I was so ambitious that right here I said, despite my lovely typos, that book 2 would release at the beginning of 2022. In fact, the first week of 2022 is when I wanted book 2 to release. Sometimes we gotta take a step back and take a little reality check. But I find it's fun to go through my marketing plan like this and kind of see what worked, see what didn't work. And that's why I leave these boxes up here colored in, because now I can look back and be like, okay, how long did it take for editorial edits? How long did it take for me to implement my edits? How long did it take for me to do developmental edits? All those different types of things. And again, especially my editing calendar here, I don't think is completely accurate because it got really messy at some point. But it's kind of fun to see how the different marketing aspects down here can interact with the creation aspects, which are up here. You can easily see what tasks are overlapping during a certain week when you click on the columns. But that's my timeline that I created for Meet Me at the Summit, and that is using the Gantt chart method. And I don't just use this, I actually use 2 marketing timelines at the same time. So I use this one because I like it because it's digital, so I can always access it. And then I have the timeline in the book launch planner, and that one tends to have more solid due dates. That's the one that I write the actual due dates on, because as you can see, the Gantt timeline can sometimes be missing those due dates, but my book launch planner always has the due dates, because the book launch planner is more the thing that I use to write down my due dates, whereas the Gantt timeline is a visual representation of everything, and it's a very visual way for me seeing the tasks. I hope that was helpful. If you enjoyed this, I highly, highly recommend checking out Plan a Profitable Book Launch. I go into a little bit more detail on how exactly I use the Gantt chart, and then how I used a few other different marketing timelines. In the book, Bethany also shares what timelines she has used in the past that have worked well for her. So you can access all of that there by reading that book. Let me know how you plan your marketing strategies when you're planning a book release by sharing in the comments down below. I will see you guys all next week. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe.